The moment the heart takes its final beat, something astonishing begins. Not silence, not darkness, but movement, awakening. For the soul, death is not an end. It's a doorway. And on the other side is a reality so vast, so intimate, so luminous, that most of us could never imagine it while we're still here. Let go of the idea that death is sleep. It's more like waking up from one. When the soul slips free from the body, there is no sudden void. Instead, there's lightness, real, radiant lightness. People who have had near-death experiences often describe it as being lifted from gravity itself, as if the weight of pain, fear, and even time simply falls away. They speak of floating, of glowing landscapes, of an awareness that expands like the rising sun. And yet, those first moments can also bring confusion. Imagine seeing with no eyes, hearing with no ears, perceiving everything, everywhere, all at once. You're no longer a passenger in a body. You are awareness itself. This is the beginning of what some traditions call the transitional state. The soul has not yet fully detached from the earthly world, but it's no longer bound by it either. It stands between two realms, still sensing the physical, but already drawn towards something infinitely more expansive. For many, this is when the silver cord, an ethereal thread connecting body and soul, is finally severed. When it breaks, the soul is released completely. From that moment on, reality is no longer filtered through flesh and nerves. It's raw, direct. Color becomes emotion. Sound becomes memory. You don't observe the world, you merge with it. And what's truly astonishing? The soul remembers. It remembers what it really is. Some embrace this instantly, like coming home. Others resist, clinging to the identity they had just moments ago, a name, a job, a life, a family. These souls linger, hovering near their bodies, near loved ones, near the places they once called home. Not out of malice, but out of longing. Out of love, or sometimes, regret. But for those who cultivated awareness in life, those who meditated, prayed, questioned, or even just loved deeply, the transition is smoother. They recognize this new state. They breathe it in like a long-awaited truth. In the first few days, the soul may even witness its own funeral. Not with sadness, but with awe. It sees the grief of those left behind. It may try to reach them, sending feelings, signs, or dreams. This is why many people report vivid encounters with departed loved ones shortly after death. The veil is thin, and the bond of love knows no laws of physics. But here's where the journey becomes truly transformative. According to the legendary readings of Edgar Cayce and echoed by countless other sources, the soul enters a life review. But it's nothing like watching a highlight reel. No. This is something far more profound. You relive your life, not just from your own eyes, but through the eyes of everyone you ever touched. Every moment of kindness is felt again, this time from the heart of the one you comforted. Every harsh word echoes not in your memory, but in the heart it wounded. It's not punishment. It's education. A soul-level understanding of cause and effect. Imagine feeling the joy you gave someone with a small act you barely remembered. Imagine feeling the sadness you unknowingly caused years ago with a single sentence. This is not judgment from above. This is the soul remembering what it came here to learn. And here's something even more extraordinary. It's not just about this life. The soul begins to sense patterns, threads stretching through lifetimes. Lessons attempted again and again. Relationships that keep circling back, lifetime after lifetime. We begin to see how nothing was random. Not the family we were born into. Not the hardships we endured. Not even the people who broke our hearts. Everything had a purpose, a rhythm, a design. As the soul grows comfortable in its disembodied state, time, as we know it, ceases to apply. Weeks and months don't pass like days on Earth. Instead, they flow like expanding ripples in a cosmic ocean. But something else begins to awaken. A higher awareness of direction. The soul is no longer adjusting. It is becoming. Around the 5th or 6th month, the soul begins what mystics call the integration phase. Everything it has witnessed, the life review, the soul reunions, the vibrational healing, now settles deep into its core. But this is no passive reflection. It's transformation at the soul level. Compassion isn't just understood, it's embodied. Wisdom isn't just known, it becomes the soul's very frequency. This is when many souls begin to feel a calling. Even beyond the veil, service continues. Some choose to guide the newly departed, becoming a comforting presence to those who died suddenly or fearfully. Others send healing energies to the living, family members still in grief, children who cry out in sleep, lovers who whisper to the wind. These souls become unseen hands that cradle our hearts when we feel most alone. And then, something even more profound emerges. The soul begins to perceive its soul contract. Not the fine print of destiny, but the deep, spiritual agreements made before birth. It sees why it chose its parents. Why certain heartbreaks were necessary. Why particular people crossed its path not to break it, but to shape it. What once seemed cruel or chaotic now reveals itself as intentional, part of a tapestry that only eternity can fully display. By the 8th or 9th month, the soul often begins preparing for what's next. For some, this means the planning of another incarnation, choosing new parents, a time, a place, even challenges that will further evolve their spirit. This isn't punishment. It's purpose. The soul, now rich with perspective, may willingly choose difficulty, knowing that suffering on earth often awakens a deeper love. For others, reincarnation is not immediate. These souls ascend to higher spiritual realms, dedicating themselves to teaching, healing, or creating in dimensions we can barely imagine. Without bodies, they contribute through pure energy, through light, harmony, and wisdom, nurturing the evolution of consciousness across the universe. By the time the first year concludes, the soul has undergone a breathtaking metamorphosis. What began as detachment from the physical has become reunion with the eternal. What began as confusion has become clarity. And what began with grief, both for the soul and those left behind, now transforms into a kind of peace that defies language. The soul understands now that death is not the end. It is not a door that closes, but one that opens into light. It sees how love does not die, but deepens. How every connection made in life, whether tender or painful, still exists, still vibrates, still matters. And perhaps most beautifully of all, the soul recognizes that it is not alone. It never was. So, what happens to the soul in the first year after death? It remembers. It reunites. It heals. It evolves. And when it's ready, it chooses its next step not from fear, but from freedom.